One day I looked up and there you were, like a simple question, looking for an answer. Now I am a whale, listening to some inner call, swimming blindly to throw myself upon your shore. What if I don't find you when I have landed? Would you leave me here to die on your shore stranded? Think I know why the dog howls at the moon. I think I know why the dog howls at the moon. I say, Dela, Dela, minangia Dela, when I'm with you. Dela, Sondela, mama Sondela, I burn for you. I've been waiting for you all my life, hoping for a miracle. I've been waiting day and night, day and night. I've been waiting for you all my life, waiting for redemption. I've been waiting day and night, I burn for you.
We good?
A blind bird sings inside the cage, that is my heart. The image of your face comes to me.
Oh, hey, man. Welcome back.
Thanks.
You've been in how many time zones in the last 3 weeks?
2.
Oh, is Peru in our time zone? Is it central? Oh.
Central
So
time.
2 time zones, 2 continents. Were you south? You were south of the equator, right?
Geography is a strong suit for me.
Did the toilets flush the opposite direction?
This way, right? That's the way. That's no, it's normal because it's this way. That's the way they go, right? Do, do, do.
Yeah, they go clockwise.
Right. Yeah. Do, do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do, do, do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The-
There we go. Same direction.
Oh, and that must mean you were still north of the equator. I thought Peru. Man, you just got to go really far south to get south of the equator.
I don't know. Maybe so. It was a Hilton hotel, so maybe they went and put special American safeguards in there to make us feel comfortable.
Magnets in the toilets so that you're
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that sounds reasonable, right?
Sure. Nothing but the best. Hilton. This Good Friday worship gathering brought to you by Hilton. When you can't handle even the water being different from where you travel. Well, at this time, you're not solo for the cover, right?
Not at all.
All right, well,
Not at all.
it is Good Friday. I feel like I just ran a marathon to get everything ready, but we're ready. So let's do it. You've got your burgundy nails ready to, are they purple? Purple? Okay, they kind of look a little burgundy. All right, well, I'm going to get out of your way. Enjoy.
I'm just kidding. That's not the cover.
Have to do this. I was thinking that you could be trusted. Did you have to ruin what was shiny? Now it's all rusted. Did you have to hit me where I'm weak? Baby, I couldn't breathe and rub it in so deep. Salt in the wound like you're laughing at me. Oh, it's so sad to think about the good times you and I. Baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be mad love. So take a look what you've done. Cause baby, now we've got bad blood. Hey! Now we've got problems. And I don't think we can solve them. You made a really deep cut. Baby, now we've got bad blood. Hey! You think we'd be fine? Still got scars on the back from your knife. So don't think it's in the past. These kinds of wounds, they last and they last. Now did you think it all through? All these things will catch up to you. Time can heal, but this won't. So if you're coming my way, just don't. Oh, it's so sad to think about the good times you and I. Baby, now we've got bad blood. You know it used to be mad love. So take a look what you've done. Cause baby, now we've got bad blood. Hey! Now we've got problems. And I don't think we can solve them. You made a really deep cut. Baby, now we've got bad blood.
Hey!
Band-aids don't fix bullet holes. You say you're sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with ghosts. Band-aids don't fix bullet holes. You say you're sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with ghosts.
Boo.
If you love like that, blood runs cold.
Bad blood.
You know it used to be
Mad love.
So take a look what you've
Done.
Cause baby, now we've got bad blood.
Hey!
Now we've got problems.
Problems.
And I don't think you can
Solve them.
You made a really deep
Cut.
Baby, now we've got bad blood. Now
Hey!
we've got
Bad blood.
You know it used to be
Mad love.
So take a look what you've
Done.
Cause baby, now we've got bad blood. Now we've got And
Problems.
I don't think we can
Solve them.
You made a really deep
Cut.
Baby, now we've got bad blood.
Hey!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst. My name is JR. I'm the teaching pastor here, and this is our Good Friday worship gathering. If you were here with us on Sunday, you remember that we watched as Jesus rode into Jerusalem, being welcomed as the Messiah by the crowds of pilgrims that he traveled with. And for the rest of the city, both the Romans and the citizens of Jerusalem, it created a lot of tension. And the tension has only escalated throughout this week, bringing us to last night when Jesus shared his Last Supper with his disciples and then was arrested in the night, went through sort of a sham trial, and was handed over to Pilate to be crucified. And so tonight, at Good Friday, we are walking through the stations of the cross with Jesus. We are accompanying him on his journey towards his crucifixion. And this year, we decided to present kind of a multimedia Stations of the Cross. We're going to have various people in our congregation presenting reflections, presenting some poetry, presenting some art. And all of this is designed just to create some space for us to reflect on what is happening with Jesus tonight. How his journey to the cross is where we watch him take the weight of our sin, the consequence of human unfaithfulness, onto his own shoulders and bear that weight even to the point of death. And so tonight, there's going to be a bunch of different stuff that's going to be coming at us. We're going to be presented with a bunch of different ideas. And unlike our normal Sunday morning worship gatherings, where there's kind of one big idea you're trying to wrestle with throughout the night, tonight in all the songs that we're going to be singing and the prayers that we're going to be doing and the various stations we're going to be witnessing, What I'm asking you to do instead is just listen to what God might be saying to you through the Holy Spirit. We believe that God is speaking to us and that there's going to be something here for each person as we listen. So we're going to begin by singing together, and there's going to be music interspersed throughout the evening tonight. But I hope that this is an experience that you find challenging and helpful, and ultimately one that helps us walk with Jesus through the cross. So would you stand with me, and I want to hand it back over to Nathan as we sing together.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my riches gain I count but loss, and pour content on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to His blood. See from His head, His hands, His feet, sorrow and love flow me down. Did ever love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were a present far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all.
Y'all can have a seat. As you can tell, we have a few extra candles up here tonight, and that's because we are framing the Stations of the Cross journey tonight as what's known as a Tenebrae gathering. And so after each station, as we have time to reflect, we're going to extinguish one of these candles, culminating in the blowing out of the Christ candle when Jesus dies on the cross. And so again, these are meant to help us in a visual way represent the weight of sin, the consequence of sin, as it attempts to snuff out the light of the world. And so I want to introduce our first two stations. We're going to do them. They are video recorded stations. These are from Andrew Franks and Stormy Franks, who are some of our virtual congregants. And so Andrew is going to take us to the first station right now.
Jesus is condemned to death. Station 1. Matthew 27:20 through 26. Pilate responded, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" They shouted back, "Crucify him!" "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" But the mob roared even louder, "Crucify him!" Pilate saw that he wasn't getting anywhere, and that was a riot that was developing. So he sent for a bowl of water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. The responsibility is yours." And all the people yelled back, "We will take responsibility for his death, and we and our children." So Pilate released Barabbas to him. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip and turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. Think of a time that you felt injustice in your life. This facade of condemnation was just unjust. When the religious leaders who were threatened by Jesus' popularity couldn't find a way to get rid of him, they passed over Jesus to the Roman authorities, hoping that they would take care of this insurrectionist. Pilate had nothing to charge Jesus with, so he chose to maintain peace with the mob by condemning an innocent to death. Injustice is a broken promise. The institutionalized breaking of promises, as well as the more individual failures that hurt us. When institutions fail to listen to need over money, power, and the maintaining the status quo, mob justice is rampant. People prioritizing their comfort over the safety and lives of others made in the image of God. I don't have 30 pieces of silver. It's not even silver. But I hope the point comes across. Take some time and journal. Think, meditate, where we see injustice around us. Is it only in our courts? Is it in the streets? Within our own families? Are we guilty of participating in mob violence against others? 30 pieces of silver.
Jesus carries his cross. Station 2. John 19:16 through 18. Then Pilate turned Jesus over to them to be crucified. So they took Jesus away. Carrying the cross by himself, he went to the place called Place of the Skull, in Hebrew Golgotha. There they nailed him to the cross. 2 others were crucified with him, one on either side, with Jesus in between them. Think of the burdens you are carrying. If you have paper and pencil, it may be helpful to list them out. Think of all the things that weigh you down. The family stresses, the social and political issues that affect you and those you love, the hurts caused by those acting in the name of God, the daily pains, physical or mental health, the grind of work or school, people who count on you to show up day in and day out, bills that stack up on the table. You didn't choose many of these burdens. They were thrust on you by circumstance, by others acting in bad faith, and sometimes by people with good intentions. No matter where they come from, those burdens are still heavy. I know my paper is full, and yours probably is too. Under that weight, it can be hard to think about anything else, let alone make changes for the better. The idea that the Son of God, the Savior of the world, struggled to bear his own burdens, to carry the instrument of his death to the place of his death, is uncomfortable to think on. This isn't the victorious Jesus we want to worship. This isn't the military Messiah that many people expected. How can God the Father be good when he lets this happen to his Son? How can Jesus fulfill his promises to help us if he's stuck under the weight of his own burdens? Where does this leave us? How do we bear up when we feel like the weight of the world is on us? How do we keep going under the strain when we feel like God has his own burdens? Who are we supposed to turn to when it feels like God isn't there or is dealing with problems bigger than our own?
Our next station is going to feature a poem by a poet named Malcolm Geet, and Stella Sweeney is going to read that for us. So Stella, come on up.
He made the stones that pave the roads of Zion, and well he knows the path we make him tread. He met the devil as a roaring lion, and still refused to turn these stones to bread, choosing instead as love will always choose, this darker path into the heart of pain. And now he falls upon the stones that bruise, the flesh that break and scrape the tender skin. He and the earth he made were never closer. Divinity and dust came face to face. We flinch back from his Dia Dolorosa. He sets his face like flint and takes our place, staggers beneath the black weight of us all, and falls with us that he might break our fall.
Let's pause here and sing together again. Would you stand with us?
the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that he should give his only Son to make this wretch his treasure. Your wounds are paid. Our Father turned his face away as wounds which mar the chosen one bring all of us to glory. Behold the man upon a cross, upon his shoulders. Ashamed, I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. Why should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom. You may be seated.
Mark 15:21. A certain man from Cyrene, Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country, and they forced him to carry the cross. We don't know very much about Simon from Cyrene, but we can make a good assumption that he was just a Jew from out of town who was engaging in a religious pilgrimage to Jerusalem to participate in the Passover activities. His home, Cyrene, was a city in Libya, North Africa, west of ancient Egypt, and separated from Jerusalem by a desert. It no doubt had been a long and difficult journey for Simon. The text states that he was passing by on his way in from the country. We must consider that in ancient times, news about Jesus' crucifixion could not have traveled that fast to the countryside. The comment that he was passing by suggests it was unlikely he would have had very much information about who Jesus was. Although we don't know what motivated him, we might assume Simon wandered into the crowd at some point, curious about what all the commotion was about. People cheering on the death sentence of this man who claimed to be their king. A trail of women crying and lamenting his impending death. Simon may not have known much about who Jesus was, but he knew what a crucifixion was, and it was indeed a spectacle, and he had to get close to the action. The man Jesus had already been beaten. The physical burden of now carrying what might have been somewhere between 1 and 200 pounds of lumber took its toll on his weakened body. Jesus had fallen to the ground. The Roman guards noticed Simon and made him pick up Jesus' cross. He had no choice but to shoulder those 100-plus pounds of lumber. Jesus and Simon both made the laborious journey up Golgotha, the skull-shaped hill where Jesus would die. This was likely not what Simon had in mind when he set out on his pilgrimage from faraway Cyrene to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. What we imagine was promised to him was an opportunity for a profound religious experience, being in the holiest place in the spiritual home of his people on an important holiday. He was on his way to do something else, and he got pulled into this. Participating in the death sentence of a state criminal was certainly not on his travel itinerary. The promise of a transforming spiritual experience had been broken. Or was it? The verse in Mark describes Simon as the father of Alexander and Rufus, which suggests he was known to the Christian community that formed after Jesus' death and resurrection. It's possible that this experience, walking alongside Jesus and joining him in his suffering, completely changed the trajectory of Simon's life and set him and the generations after him on a new purpose to spread what is and would be known as the good news of Jesus' death and resurrection. How often do we find ourselves, minds set on our own paths and purposes, convinced that we are doing the right thing, only to be interrupted or even thwarted by something unexpected? How can we, like Simon, let Jesus himself, the Son of God, interrupt our lives? How might we ask Jesus to help us break the promises we made to ourselves and accept God's promise of something better, the good news of Jesus' death and resurrection?
Station 5, Jesus Falls Again. Two of our stations this evening feature art by William Henry Johnson. These paintings are housed at the Smithsonian American Art Museum and were included in their Stations of the Cross art tour organized by Victoria Emily Jones. This first piece is called The Breakdown. Victoria writes, "On his way to the cross, Jesus falls multiple times under the weight of the cross. His collapse is obliquely reflected in the breakdown of William Henry Johnson, which shows a malfunctioning car piled high with furniture, stranding a couple in search of a better life. The title refers not just to a mechanical breakdown, but to the economic breakdown of American society during the Great Depression, which for some led to breakdown of other kinds, emotional, spiritual, and/or familial. I'm broke down is an expression of despair used especially in blues music. But the couple in this painting seems to be coping well with their hardship. The wife is improvising a roadside cook fire while the husband works on repairs. Displayed prominently on the car's hood is a cross ornament backlit by a sun, alluding to the couple's sustaining faith and prefiguring the dawning of a new day. Johnson was a major figure in 20th century African American art. Born in South Carolina, he traveled extensively throughout Africa and Europe, living for extended periods in France and Scandinavia. Though he experimented with realism and expressionism, he is best known for the flat, consciously naive style he adopted after his return to the U.S. in 1938, using a palette of only 4 or 5 colors. His output during the period depicts African American subjects, farm workers, street musicians, market shoppers, churchgoers, chain gangs, etc., sometimes even working them into biblical narratives. Please spend a couple of minutes reflecting on this image.
Station 6 is when Jesus' clothes are taken from him. Criminals that were crucified naked. It was all part of the pageantry, the spectacle of the day. The criminal was first dressed like a king because that was their crime. They thought that they could be a king other than Caesar. And so in Jesus' case, he was given a purple robe and a crown. Of course, the crown was made of thorns. It was designed to hurt and humiliate. That was the whole point, to mock the would-be king with this, big to-do. Because crucifixion wasn't about the person being killed. It was about the people watching. It was a warning. If you try to resist Rome, this is what's going to happen to you too. That's why the whole point was to make crucifixion as humiliating as possible, as painful as possible, and as public as possible. So, of course, after they dress Jesus up and parade him around, they strip him down. They take away even the make-believe clothing that they gave him. So there he stands, as we might say today, naked as the day he was born. Naked as we all were before sin entered the world. Because we didn't start making clothes until we were ashamed, until we wanted to hide from each other. So God comes to us and allows himself to be stripped naked, to be humiliated. Because this is a God who has nothing to hide from us. A God who wants to show us how great his love for us is. And the question for us is, will we see him? Or will we choose to hide our eyes?
An anonymous political prisoner in Chile wrote this poem called "He Said He Was a King." The armed retinue was mocking the one crowned with thorns. They took off his rags and beat his head with a cane. Offensive mouths spat on the man with the long hair, rebel eyes, and unkempt beard.
So, mocked the soldiers, and with a mistreated body, a bloodied man was dying before the eyes of the high priests. Supreme hypocrisy, supreme meanness and greed. Today, I remember you, a freedom-loving Christ, vagabond in time, dubious in space. Were you Spartacus's brother, contemporary of the slave, or comrade worker? What matters the chain, the fiefdom, the wage, to be Nazarene, or Chacabuco inmate? If you are on earth, brother of Christ, son with dirty face and calloused hands, flesh and blood of the people, Lord of history, at home, with the plane and the hammer. Eternal resident of the poor and barren hovel, with roof of tin or stars, floor of sand or dirt, modest or captive walls. You do not dwell in the oppressive mansion, the caves of thieves, or the palace of Caesar. Yes, I prefer the witness of the one who walks, suffers, and loves, of one who sings, weeps, and loves, of one who struggles, dies, and loves. I understand you, Christ, because I know betrayal in the spear, because, like you, I say, I am a king and claim my crown.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Were you there? Were you there when they pierced him in this side? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they pierced him in this side? Were you there when the sun refused to shine? Were you there? Were you there when the sun refused to shine? Oh, sometimes it causes causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when the sun refused to shine? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? I hear the Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me thine all in all. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. Lord, now indeed I find thy power and thine alone can change the leper's spot and melt the heart of stone. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. And when before the throne I stand in him complete, Jesus died my soul to save. My lips shall still repeat, Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow.
See, as they strip the robe from off his back and spread his arms and nail them to the cross. The dark nails pierce him and the sky turns black, and love is firmly fastened onto loss. But here a pure change happens. On this tree, loss becomes gain, death opens into birth. Here, wounding heals and fastening makes free. Earth breathes in heaven, heaven roots in earth. And here we see the length, the breadth, the height, where love and hatred meet and love stays true, where sin meets grace and darkness, turns to light. We see what love can bear and be and do. And here our Savior calls us to his side, his love free, his arms open wide. The dark nails pierce him and the sky turns black. We watch him as he labors to draw breath. He takes our breath away to give it back. Return it to its birth through his slow death. We hear him struggle, breathing through the pain, who once breathed out his spirit on the deep, who formed us when he mixed the dust with rain and drew us into consciousness from sleep. His spirit and his life he breathes in all, mantles his world in one atmosphere. And now he comes to draw breath beneath the pall of our pollutions, draw our injured air, to cleanse it and renew. His final breath breathes us and bears us through the gates of his death.
We met William H. Johnson at Station 5, the breakdown. In 1944, Johnson's wife, Halcha, died of cancer. He was devastated. He painted Lamentation that year while processing his grief, along with other scenes of the dead Christ, like Mount Calvary, also owned by this museum. Shortly after, Johnson developed a mental illness, diagnosed as paralytic dementia, and he spent the last 33 years of his life at a hospital in New York, unable to produce any art. In Johnson's Lamentation, Jesus has just been taken down from the cross. He lies on the cold ground, the blood from his wounds seeping into the earth. Surrounding him in mourning are the three Marys John mentions in his gospel as having been present at the crucifixion: Jesus' mother, his mother's sister, who is the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene, John 19:25. They wear patterned colored dresses, gold halos, and varied reactions to the death of their beloved. Behold, then, behind them the sky is dark, as if it too is in mourning. The corpses of the two criminals Jesus was killed with still hang on their crosses. Please spend a couple of minutes reflecting on this image.
Here, at the center, everything is still. Before the stir and movement of our grief, which bears its pain with rhythm, ritual, beautiful, useless gestures of relief. So they anoint the skin that cannot feel, soothing his ruined flesh with tender care, kissing the wounds they know they cannot heal with incense scenting only empty air. He blesses every love that weeps and grieves and makes our grief the pangs of a new birth, the love that's poured in silence at old graves, renewing flowers, tending the bare earth, is never lost. In him all love is found, and sown with him a seed in rich ground.